Welcome to Family Hour here on the Iowa blog. I am here with Mr. Van Gogh. Didn't know he still had two ears, but that's the Kevin up there on the top with a beautiful Van Gogh behind him. A real artist, however, below him, that's Captain Kirk, and over in the pretty yellow top with Wookie. Wookie doesn't even appear now because it's actually too low for the camera angle. But there's Leia and the Wookie. You may notice that Wookie's looking at about half the size he was on the last program. He got a haircut. He got a haircut sometime today, and so Wookie's looking very stylish, but a little smaller than he previously did.
For summer.
In our Family Hour last week, we presented something that was fairly startling, which was that when you review what is said in Daniel 7 and 12, it becomes obvious that the Antichrist is a known figure and that the timeline between now and his main events is easily understood, although it hadn't been known prior to our show last week. In fact, we're going to read again where it says that this is under seal and no one's going to understand it until the restoring witness explains it. So that is what we're going to do again on this program. And we are going to go back through much of what we covered a week ago, just because it is, well, it was a pretty amazing discovery. It really sets the world up for what's going to happen over the next 98 months. But what did we find within days of the time of we revealed our program? We had South Park present the Donald snuggling in bed with Satan.
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
We love South Park.
Oh, that was one of the greatest gotchas of all time. Of course, the gotcha was for a number of reasons. One is that Trump is a nincompoop, as he constantly attacks the media, and that $12 million that he claims he won because, well, they presented a edited clip of cackles during the election, and he said that was somehow had defrauded him, even though he won the election, and even though Fox did a bigger edit of him on the Epstein files than CBS did with the cackles on that particular issue. And what we find is that the only reason that Paramount, CBS, acquiesced to the $12 million is that the Trump administration was playing blackmail. They wanted a merger with Sundance, and the merger was being held up in the Trump Justice Department. And so the government traded, all right, okay, we'll approve your merger and won't hold it up, but you pay the Donald $12 million.
Yeah.
So that was the deal. And so right after it was,
they call him the deal maker, don't they?
Yeah, right after it was done, the consequence of that deal was that, because part of that deal was also that Colbert would be fired because Trump hates Colbert, and so they fired Colbert as part of their deal, and then the guys from South Park says, well, no, two can play that game, and so they presented wee little Trumpster in bed with Satan. And here we are now proving that Donald Trump is the Toralist one. He's the corporeal manifestation of Satan. He is actually demon possessed at this time, which is why he is so out of sorts, why he is so totally dishonest. He was out saying that he had no relationship with Epstein. Now there are pictures by the thousands of him with Epstein, and both said, "Oh yeah, I socialized a lot with Donald Trump. He was my best friend."
Not only that, here's a little known fact. Do you know that he actually had his daughter Ivanka with one of the sex trafficking modeling agencies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He'd do it to his own daughter.
Well, he said that he was more sexually attracted to his daughter when his daughter was 12 years old than he was to his wife.
Yeah, well, he's screwing America because he can't meet her.
He had a lot in common with Muhammad.
Mhm.
Can tell, which was we already knew was the model for what's called the Antichrist. So we're going to begin with the opening line of the 12th chapter, and then we're going to move through the 7th chapter of Daniel in this program, and we're going to establish absolute proof that the identity of the person known as the Antichrist, the corporeal manifestation of Satan that betrays Israel and the world, is Donald J. Trump. And so at that time, Michael, the one who is truthful and right about God, who is representing the king, will have an important role in nourishing the growth and promoting the family's children, taking a stand, present and accountable. Then there will be a time of trouble, beyond which has never existed from a Gentile nation prior to this time. And during this period, your people will be saved, everyone rescued from harm's way and delivered, who is found written in the book, Daniel 12:1. We went over this last week, but just by way of reminder, Michael is not an angel, much less an archangel, just as Gabriel isn't an angel either. Gabriel is God's most courageous and capable man. In fact, Gabar, from which it is based, actually means man. And he was identified twice in the narrative as a man and not a malach or a angel, if you prefer the Greek transliteration. Similarly, Michael is one who is right about God. He plays a major role in God's story, particularly about these end time events, which is why he and Gabriel were both brought to Babel to speak about these things. But these are our two men. There will be a third added to this. The third is not named, but he is actually named by Malachi in the last chapter, among the last paragraph of Malachi's revelation. And Malachi introduces us to him as the one man who you would normally expect to be at this event. He was Elia, and the reason you would expect Elia is that Michael is the anima para. And so Elia is the one who is practiced, already rehearsed in the sacrifice of a bull. And so he is the one being brought back for this time. He is the third in this audience. So Michael, his distinction is that he is truthful and right about God, which is exceedingly rare because there hasn't been anybody truthful and right about God in 2,500 years. So that would make that name exceptional. To be truthful and right about God, you got to start with his name. And we were the first to reintroduce Yahweh's name properly pronounced, proven that it was Yahweh, some 24 years ago, and have now written all of these books that you can see around me and behind me, mostly covered up by the handsome and beautiful portraits of my co-hosts here. But there are some 35 that are free at Yada Yahweh and yadayah.com, which would be a good indication that this fellow knows a fair amount about Yahweh, since the title of that series and the title of the website is Yada, to know Yahweh. He is representing the king, is that next statement, Sar. This fellow, Michael, is representing Gabriel, who is the king of Israel. He is our Messiah. He is the Son of God. He is the returning king. He is our Savior who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim, Pesach, by being crucified in his own testimony, which he provided 1,000 years before he endured it. And he will have, it says, an important role in nourishing the growth and promoting your family's children. So his role, Michael's role, is to nurture the family, which is the covenant, to promote growth within the covenant, which is the job that we're doing. As a matter of fact, I was the first to actually establish the fact that there were 5 conditions that we need to meet to be part of the covenant family, and that the 5 benefits of the covenant are afforded through the Moed Mikre, and particularly the first 3 of them, Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim, which Dowd fulfilled. And it says that he will be taking a stand, present, and accountable. Well, you can't be any more present, taking a stand, and accountable than what we're going to read is going to happen to Michael as the Adamah Parah. That's about as extraordinary as it gets in this regard. And then it says there'll be a time of trouble. All right, so Michael is actually coming onto the scene before the time of trouble. The time of trouble starts in 10 months. It is begins with the Shabbat harvest, which is the 22nd of May of 2026. And that begins the countdown of the 7 years of the time of trouble. And that is what is being established here. So Michael precedes this for the purpose of building up and nurturing, trying to increase the size of the covenant family by being right about God and by serving the returning king, Dowd. And this time of trouble, we're told, will be far beyond, more anguishing, more afflicting, more adversarial than anything which has previously existed. Now, the Jews didn't exactly have much fun with the Egyptians, did they?
Oh, no.
Like, they started to perpetrate genocide on them. They were slaves for 80 years, there for almost 400 years, and in the end, they were being beaten to death, and the baby boys were being killed. It was genocide. That wasn't much fun. Then from there, they didn't do real well during the Exodus. That was a miserable experience for them. I don't know how you could have a more miserable experience in God's company, but they did. And then, they finally get to the promised land, and they send the spies in, and they're quivering in their sandals. Man, we can't go into there. They're scary into there, man. We're not going there. So that was a distressing moment for them, no doubt. And then they finally get into the promised land, and they forget everything that God told them. And, well, the Assyrians came a-knocking. And the Assyrians, they were ruthless, man. They put rings in their noses, naked marchers, and had them.
They were known for flailing people a lot.
Oh, yeah. They were really ruthless. It's hard to imagine much worse than that.
And the first form of crude type of crucifixion. Yeah,
by ropes, slowly to kill, but not by nails. And then you had the Babylonians, and well, they were pretty horrific as well. And then you had the Greeks, and in between all of that, you had Amalek. You've studied Amalek. He was a swell guy. The thing interesting about Amalek is that he was a kissing cousin. Amalek was a descendant of Esau, Jacob, and Esau.
Grandson, wasn't
he? Yeah, came in from the Sinai area, and so he was.
Imagine that.
Yeah, he was one of them. So they're most ruthless. I mean, they fought a lot of foes, but the most ruthless, I would think, would be Amalek. Yeah. And he was genetically related directly to them. Mm-hmm. And that was a horrible experience. And then they are just experiencing one foe after another. The Philistines were ruthless. They were savage terrorists and invaders. And if it wasn't for Dowd, they would have wiped out Israel. And so, times were tough. And
here we go.
Then they had the Macedonians come in, and they did everything they could to desecrate Judea and the temple. But nobody was as bad as the Romans. The Romans came in not once, not twice, but three times. And the
we
third
couldn't
time,
get enough.
The third time with Hadrian, mass crucifixions and the diaspora, everybody enslaved. It's
starvation of people,
and also the shame of knowing that they brought this on themselves. Rabbi Akiba, the father of rabbinic Judaism, foisted a false Messiah on the world, and that irked the Romans. Hadrian came in with the legions, and he was the one that renamed the land Philistia, which is the curse now of Palestine. That is so horrid for Jews. That was born of a rabbi, and then the diaspora that followed that enabled the Holocaust. I mean, you can't be much worse than that. And
the Romans massacred everyone in sight.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Make no mistake, the Muslims will be far worse.
Roman Catholics came in and they were ruthless to the Jews. They blamed the Jews for killing their God, so they were really ruthless. I don't know how a group of people who have no rights in a area in their own homeland, but subjugated by Romans, managed to perpetrate a Roman crucifixion on a god. But nonetheless, the Jews were blamed for crucifying the mythical Jesus. That didn't set well. Then Muhammad perpetrates genocide on all Arabian Jews, which were huge populations, some 40,000 Jews, and he either rapes, enslaves, or murders all of them. So that's pretty darn bad. And then you just had one assault after another, just horrible treatment throughout Roman Catholic Europe, where Jews were subjugated, the pogroms. I mean, it was awful the way they were treated all that period. And all this time, you'd think maybe Jews to say, we've been trusting the rabbis and the religious with answers, and it just gets worse. Well, when are we going to try a little different plan here? I would say the same thing to them today. Of course, this led to the Holocaust, which and the Holy Roman Empire was just tragic. The Third Reich, it was just the worst treatment of a race in the history of the world.
Yeah, but we know the exact date when they're going to change their mind.
Yeah, so it doesn't know. You kind of wonder when they will wake up and say, this plan that we've been on certainly isn't working. But nonetheless, they come back, finally get into their homeland, and boy, they're almost obliterated in the War of Independence by Muslims, and then a 6-day war by Muslims, and then a Yom Kippur war that they almost lost again by Muslims, and then 2 series of intifadas where they were terrorized by Muslims, and a Lebanese war by the Muslims, and then they had the Alaska flood by Muslims, 2,000 either enslaved or raped and murdered. And now they've got the entire world against them. So
now they're bombing Syria.
Yeah, bombing Syria, bombing Lebanon, bombing Iran, bombing
they're acting like the
Yemen,
United States. They see enemies everywhere.
Gaza. They are just convinced that they're going to engender their place in this world by bombing themselves into history. And all they're really doing is digging their own grave. But nonetheless, this is the time of trouble that is just beginning, and it's not going to even begin in earnest for another almost year. And look how bad it is already, where the world has turned against Israel. You can't find outside of a few people in Israel now that will stand for Israel. And it's been completely abandoned. We go on X and Facebook to support Israel, not the Israeli government, but to support Israel.
The people
of Israel, the chosen people. And oh my God, you're just surrounded by slime. And even the Israelites that have a pro-Israel pitch, they're defending their own suicide. So anyway, we're entering a time of trouble beyond which has ever existed before. This is confirmed, by the way, by both the prophet Yeshaya and Yoel. And it's going to be perpetrated by Gentiles, and it's going to begin prior to this time.
May I ask one quick question?
You betcha.
Well,
Thank you.
Well, I'm I really can't understand why this conversation you just had never takes place in Israel. They did have a Hezekiah moment. They were
Mhm,
surrounded. He did
mhm,
go to exactly where we went, where
mhm,
you went,
mhm,
we
mhm,
followed. He
mhm,
listen, go get the Torah. Let's read it and see what the deal is. Why
mhm,
does it
mhm.
never occur to anyone in Israel these days to?
I know the answer.
Okay, Leo.
Because we wrote him out of the story, sweetheart.
We wrote,
That's why.
yeah, they wrote Yahweh out of their lives.
Yeah.
Clearly wrote Yahweh out of their lives. They won't even say his name.
Nope.
They value the Talmud, which they open up and study as books, while
Well, we prefer to worship dead rabbis.
they trap the Torah up in these cases as if it were a whore. It's yeah.
Prayed
You
it
know,
out, kiss it.
You've read all these books, so you know that that our previous 24 years has been our Hezekiah moment. We
Yeah.
expanded the Hezekiah moment from a few weeks to 24 years. We're living in our Hezekiah moment.
Correct.
That's what these books basically
However,
are.
in the end, it will come back around. They will have their Hezekiah moment because they won't have any other choice.
Well, yeah, but I have to let Satan bludgeon me to death for them to get it.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't get the opportunity to
see
leave
how
their father's
dense-
house. Their house burns down around them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not like they're making
Now you
a
get
decision on their own initiative to finally say, boy, those rabbis really turned out to be lying scumbag.
Yeah.
They created Islam, they created Christianity, they created Judaism. They are the reason they created the name Palestine. They're responsible for all of that stuff. And they've just been a disaster for us. Almost every heartache that we have suffered over the last 2,000 years can be laid to the feet of rabbis. We wouldn't be attacked by Islam if it not for the rabbis. We wouldn't have been subjugated and tortured with the Holocaust in Europe, in Roman Catholic Europe, if the rabbis hadn't aided and abetted the creation of Christianity. And so you would think that they would be saying that, and you would think that they would recognize the rabbis are now nothing but greedy parasites. And
You'd have thought after the Holocaust, the way they acted, they would have nothing to do with these.
And you think that when somebody comes and says, I'm going to tell you the truth about them, and I'm going to prove it through all of these books, and I'm going to do a blog, and I'm going to speak bluntly on social media and tell you what they have done to you so that you can wake up and resolve this problem, that there would be thousands upon thousands of Jews say, boy, I've been waiting to hear that all my life. Thank you for proving this point. And yet,
I did.
no.
They run the
Few
Too
do.
rare.
Few do.
Very rare.
Few do. They spit in his face just like they did though. Now you get the story.
Yeah. So it is sad. So it goes on to say, and during this period, your people will be saved, and everyone will be rescued from harm's way and delivered, who is found written in the book. And you're wondering here, is the book the Torah? Is the book the prophets? And by being written into the book, are you someone who has studied what is written in the book and made it part of your life so that you are written in the book because you've literally incorporated the book into your life? Or is it this new revelation of the book through Yada, where there are some 10,000 profoundly important and previously unstated revelations about what it's like to develop a relationship with Yahweh and how we go about doing it? And so are those individuals who join with us as part of the covenant family and pursue what is in Yahweh's interest, are they writing themselves into our family of books?
Right.
Yeah, it could be all of these things, but nonetheless, they are finally rescued and delivered. They'll be spared, they'll be liberated, but it's, and they, at the very end, after suffering so very much. And it says, many important and infamous individuals of those who are asleep in the dust of the earth will be awakened. and some to the restoration of life everlasting, and others to eternal scorn and shame, insults and reproach, accusations and censure.
I have a few accusations. Do you?
Yeah.
Ho,
Now,
ho, ho.
my view of this, as we try to establish the timing, is that this is going to occur when there are many Israelites that are, and Goyim as well, that are spared and liberated during the Shabbat harvest, which is what's occurring here in 10 months, and to begin the time of troubles. And that during that time, then those who have passed away prior to it will either have this opportunity to go from this kind of suspended animation to eternal life within the covenant, or they will be condemned to Sheol. That doesn't mean there's only two options here. It means that those who haven't done anything to earn being included in the covenant family and heaven, or being incarcerated in Sheol, they're just not awakened. Their souls dissipated into nothingness and they're long gone. So this will be a time where we will be able to make that determination as to who goes where, and we'll sort that all out during this 3.5 years from the Shabbat harvest to the time that we are, particularly Elia and myself, are repositioned to convey God's story. So those who have eternal scorn and shame, insults and reproach, accusation and censure, a contempt that will be for having been abhorrent and appalling. That was Daniel 12:2. So we're having this survey of the last 7 to 8 years on earth. That is what we've been listening to thus far, and also Michael's role in that process. Therefore, the circumspect with insight who are discerning, demonstrating the capacity to understand, will become prominent, obtaining a high status, being respected among heavenly beings, shining brightly while enlightening and admonishing, similar to light of the expansive universe, such that they will be greatly valued for their numerous, and these worthy individuals will be vindicated for being right. And there's going to be many of them. They're going to become like stars as eternal restoring witnesses forever. Well, that sounds like God's reasonably pleased with what his covenant family is doing. Wookie is having a tough time trying to decide if he wants to be indoors or outdoors at the moment, but Leia's going to take care of him. We're going to be in a very fine situation.
Sounds like a good gig. I'm up for that.
I'm up for that. It's a really good gig. You're being appreciated by God himself. You're being transformed into light energy, which means you can go travel around the universe and explore it. And you're going to be highly valued. You're going to be vindicated. You're going to continue in the role of witnesses to, and there'd be a lot of people to witness to, because you're going to have the goy that make it into the millennial Shabbat. You're going to have that final mortal remnant of Yisrael. And, between the two of them, they're not going to know enough to even be dangerous. They're going to be there because they weren't religious and political, but they're blank slates to write God's story on. And so we'll be witnessing to them and to the children that they conceive over that 1,000-year period. And so those who earned this unique opportunity are going to be those who today are circumspect, who are discerning, and those who are devoted to serving in this capacity.
I'm very observant.
Now, Daniel was not among those individuals.
Oh my God.
Daniel
was clueless, but look, I could see Daniel's point. Like, he's living in Babylon, living his best life, and along come these two guys. He's like, wait, what?
Well, he wasn't exactly living
What's
his
going
best.
to happen?
He wasn't living his best life. He was living the best that a slave could live in Babylon. He was a valued slave, but nonetheless, he was a slave.
He had it better than most.
He did, but he wasn't better than most. He had it better than most. He wasn't better than most. As for you, Daniel, just seal up this testimony. making the message secure while precluding access to the meaning that's hidden within these words, and place a stamp and signature on the book. Well, no wonder the rabbis and the Christians couldn't open the book. The signature on the book is Yahweh's name. They don't know it.
Right.
Secret code for opening the
The
book.
secret code.
Like a boy, like a play.
7,000 times.
Yeah, of course, it does say until the time of the restoring witness runs out. So, well, we're approaching that period of time, aren't we? So
Oh, yeah.
that is when it will be explained, and you're seeing the fulfillment of prophecy right now. Many, and notably rabbis and others who were infamous and exalted, will wander about aimlessly as if they were rowing up a waterfall, even with access to information, which leads to understanding becoming more prevalent. Yeah, they're going to, all this information has always been there, and more has been given to us, and yet the religious continue to be blind. They have written all manner of lies covering up the truth. That was Daniel 12:4. And it goes on to say, then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, two in the end were present, appointed, and accounted for, supported while taking a stand. The reason I paused there is that Wookie and Asher were playing with the cables that go from the camera and from my laptop here. And that would have been quite the crash on this program, as well as many thousands of dollars worth of oops. So I was a bit nervous. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, the two in the end. Now the two in the end are the two witnesses. That's why witnesses were plural in that last statement. There are two witnesses. We know about the two olive trees aside the menorah in the end, and one of them is named Elia. The other is named here as Michael. So I, Daniel, I looked, and behold, the two in the end. He's just used the term ad for restoring witnesses. And present, appointed, and accounted for, supported while taking a stand. And one individual was now present here. Yeah, he's just talked already about him, naming him as Michael. And by the way, that means that he is an individual. He is a man. And he is present here as the means to channel speech and convey this message. He serves as lips, which form the words to convey what we're now hearing. And the other person was simultaneously present close by as a conduit for words as well, verbally expressive lips flowing with language. The verbally expressive lips, well, that would be Elia. He is the most expressive speaker probably of all time. You want to roast a bull? That's how you do it.
Well, he's unfiltered.
He is, yes. He is the
I identify most with Elia.
most sarcastic in the world when it comes to roasting bulls and embarrassing the religious and political. Then he said to the individual of linen garments. Now, the individual of linen garments, that fellow, he would be David. He is the one who is returning on Yom Kippurim to anoint the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant with the bulls and goats' blood. And to do that, he has to be dressed as the high priest, which he has done previously.
Oh, yeah.
This will not be the first time he has done this.
Nope.
He's also rehearsed. In the end, there's really only one guy that's not totally rehearsed, but mostly rehearsed. Elia is completely rehearsed in his job. He's done it all before. And Dode has rehearsed in his job. Michael.
You're the newbie.
Yeah, maybe a newbie, but you're right. The 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion on Islam and the 5 volumes on Christianity, and you've written and rewritten those books multiple times. And you write a book on Satan's autobiography, which is really important for understanding what's going to happen in these last days, called Babel. Somewhere along the line, you're no longer rehearsing. You have done all of this previously, And then when talking about God, you've got another 25 books that are devoted to conveying Yahweh's testimony from the oldest extant
It's quite the
sources.
CV.
So here we are. We have done, and in fact, what would you call these programs? If you're looking into the camera and speaking among friends to the world, isn't that a rehearsal for what we're going to do on the Temple Mount as the two witnesses? So maybe all three have.
I'd say we got about
Practice.
500 hours of content by now.
By now, I would bet every bit of 500 hours of content for the Iowa blog. We've been busy. So the
Busy little
individual,
bees.
the individual of linen garments, who, for the benefit of the relationship, was from the dimension above and beyond. Dode is coming down, or did come down at this time from heaven. He had been in heaven for some 400 years, 350 prior to this particular meeting.
It's a long time to be patient for people to wake up.
Yes. And it says here, beyond the source of the waters of the stream. The reason that waters and stream will be mentioned in several places here is that it's the waters that Yahweh provides that cleanse his people, provide new life. They are associated not only with the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, which is wrongly thought to be the red heifer, but also of how the sacrifice will transpire on Teruah that resolves the religious guilt of the mortal remnant of Yisrael. And he is going to be doused in water as the flames are ignited so that the adulterous woman of Israel is purged. So from the source of the waters of the stream, how long will this restoring witness be until the end? So the question now is, we have the witnesses, and how long are they going to be here until the end? That's the question that is being asked. Of these distinguishing and intensely wonderful explanations and astounding communications of things that would otherwise be difficult to understand.
So he's basically saying this guy knows.
Well, it's yada. Yeah, but
knows.
I think it's Pele, and
Honey.
this is something that is a little, not a little. It's a lot different. Speech is very seldom called Pele, amazing, extraordinary, exceptional, almost miraculous. But the reason that it is now being called as such, as the two fellas, Mikael, who is Yada, and Elia, are not going to be average Joes. When God says, "I got a couple of fellas," I'm gonna make this. I got a couple of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these guys are coming from Shamaim. Elia has already been there by this time, 3.5 years shy of 2,888. That's a fair amount of time to get your act together. There is no question that's going to be asked that he won't know the answer to by that time, right? And he's going to be schooled by Yahweh.
Yeah.
So and powerful.
We'll have
You
the
think he
Torah
was-
inside of us.
Oh, you think he was articulate and humorous and spectacular previously? He ain't saying nothing yet.
Wait till you get a load of them 2.0.
Oh man, and I think my explanations have been pretty intense, and many of them astounding in terms of recognizing that Dode is the Messiah, the Son of God, who fulfilled Passover as the Lamb by announcing that he would be crucified, and then telling us the exact date he was going to arrive to do this. I mean, that's a pretty astounding explanation. But there's something way beyond that. When these two guys come, they're going to speak in such a way that no matter what language you process information, you're going to hear it in that language. No matter what is said, God's going to reinforce it. Above them is going to be this moving screen that will be like captions, like we do on this show, where you have a caption of the words being spoken. Well, that's going to be there. You're going to see episodes of the Yahweh blog. Yahweh says, I'm going to raise this banner, And this banner is going to be like this moving scroll. He actually gives the dimensions of it as it
Like a billboard, yeah.
flies and hovers above these two individuals. And I think that while we're there, God's going to take the original Ark of the Covenant and he's going to raise it up for the world to see and say, this is it. He's going to show the two tablets of stone. Well,
that's what it's going to take because our people are stupid.
And only about 7,000 of them are going to acquiesce to all of that show and tell, if you will.
Wow.
I'll tell. Can we stick a pin in it? I want to explain something.
Mm-hmm.
If this man was not good at explaining the Torah correctly, I would not be sitting in this chair.
Mm-hmm.
To know something is to treat the text ethically. He's the only person I've ever come into on the face of this planet. And looking back throughout Jewish history at all of our so-called sages, they're all full of it. When you're able to hear the story as it was meant to be known, you will sit in a chair just like mine. And it is way better on this side. No more guilt, no more... Where's my next enemy coming from? Just you in a relationship with Yahweh. It is so much more calming.
Well, you with Leah, it's been, 18, 19 years of Torah teaching together. And Kirk, it's about the same amount of time with you, Kevin. Not quite that much, but
I'm a baby.
We've been through it. Rich over here, almost as much.
And do any of us have any fear about the future?
No.
I can tell you what Israel is at right now. She is scared and she's turning her sons into killers.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart.
She's killing her sons.
Yes.
When we look at our most recent presentations of the Torah, of how we went from Yeshaya 17 into about the Parah, and then reinforced it with Yeshaya 11 on the Choter being the Parah, and then took that into Numbers 19 on the Parah, and then explained that this will be a reactment on Teruah based upon what Eliah did and his roast of the religious and political elements of Israel when he roasted the bull. And then we explained how that resolved the issue of the adulterous woman, explaining that the adulterous woman is the mortal remnant of Yisrael. And that groom who wants his bride back, that
would be Dode.
That's King Dode. And then we talked about this most amazing story in between two of them, Numbers 11 and Numbers 12, about the ultimate meltdown where both God and Moshe give up on the children of Israel because they're that belligerent. And that how when somebody claimed that they too spoke for God, what God's response was when he says, no, if you speak for me, you know it. And I've made it clear that you speak for me. And